Hello everybody, welcome to Wild Boy Movies, the place to talk movies, and today we're going to be reviewing My Little Pony, Equestria Girls, the start of this spin-off franchise of G4 of MLP. Right now I'm going to have some information up on screen for you to read, like director, runtime, and PAA rating. All of that will be up on screen for you to read right now. But be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below your thoughts on Equestria Girls. But without further ado, let's get right into the pros. Alright, starting off, I gotta go ahead and praise the animation in this movie because it is identical to the animation from the main Friendship is Magic series. And when I say identical, I mean it is literally the exact same animation that show goes ahead and uses. However, most of the movie is focused on this new human world that is introduced to this universe, and the animation in that human world looks very good. And in speaking of this new human world that is introduced, I also really like the world that they went ahead and set up with this alternate universe. Because what this world is essentially is a more human version of the Equestria that we know, but instead of like a kingdom, it is a high school, and that kind of works for me, maybe because I am in high school right now as of me making this review. And I did like how this school is kind of like divided into different like groups because of Sunset Shimmer and Twilight being the one to unify the entire school together in order to get her crown back. And yeah, the story in here was also pretty good, even though it's strangely similar to a movie that I have seen over and over again, but I just can't think of it. But overall, yeah, the story in here was just pretty good and fun and entertaining to watch it, how it unfolds. I also gotta go ahead and praise the pacing of this movie because yes, this movie is an hour and 13 minutes, so very shorter than your typical movie that you would see. But in terms of that hour 13 minutes, I think it's paced very well. Sunset Shimmer is also another praise that I can give this movie, which is like an overall big praise that I can give this entire Equestria Girls series. But I think for being the villain of this movie and being like the first villain of the Equestria Girls series, I thought she was a suitable enough villain. Now, yeah, I do think that she is kind of like your stereotypical high school bully. But once we reach that final act and Sunset Shimmer becomes a she-demon, that is where we get some of that more MLP villain, like King Sombra or another villain. But for the majority of this movie, she's just your stereotypical high school bully, and I think they handled that very well. I also gotta go ahead and praise the soundtrack for this movie because, man, that soundtrack is so good. You do get a lot of good bops in this movie, like This Is a Big Night and Time to Come Together. But in my honest opinion, the best song to come out of this movie and this whole Equestria Girls franchise in general is that Cafeteria song because it is so catchy, like no joke. When I first saw this movie, I've been replaying that song so many times since I saw that movie for the first time. And even after rewatching the movie, I still go ahead and replay that song over and over again just because it's that good of a bop, and hot take, might be my favorite song of all time. But yeah, overall, that soundtrack is pretty great. I highly recommend that you go ahead and listen to that whole album. But lastly, the cast and characters have to get like the biggest praise of this movie because even though this is an alternate universe of the MLP franchise that we all know, they still stick very true to the characters' personalities from the series that we've been watching before this movie came out. Rainbow Dash is still as athletic as you would expect her to be. Applejack is still like your country girl who prefers to do things by hand. Fluttershy is still the animal lover and shy person of the friend group. Rarity is still the fashionista. And Pinkie Pie is still the energetic and party animal that, yeah, I will admit this movie is the reason that created my headcanon of Pinkie Pie having a multiversal hive mind, because both variants of Pinkie Pie that we see in this movie know everything that happened in the different worlds, even though they're not the exact same Pinkie Pie from that particular world, which is the reasoning for that multiversal hive mind headcanon. But putting that to the side, I loved how this movie didn't go ahead and completely change the characteristics and personalities of these characters. The only thing that they changed was turning them from ponies into humans. And I thought the cast in here did a great job as their respective characters from the TV show. And yeah, without a doubt, this is a very good movie, one that I highly recommend that you guys go ahead and watch. But there are still like some minor nitpicks in this movie, so let's go into the cons. Now, to be completely honest with you guys, I don't really have that many cons of this movie. This movie is just so good that I don't really have any issues with it. The only thing that I do want to bring up is some of the logic in this movie, because Sunset does everything in her power to make sure that Twilight doesn't get her crown back, so far as to go ahead and frame Twilight for destroying the gymnasium by cutting out a picture of Twilight and gluing it onto a photo of the destroyed gymnasium, even though smartphones and YouTube exist in this human universe. Like, that is kind of like the only thing that kind of annoys me. Like, use the technology that's available. But other than that, I still ended up really liking this movie. And if you're someone who hasn't seen this movie at all and you're not sure if you want to go ahead and see it, I say go ahead and see it. I think you'll definitely be entertained. And I do honestly think that this is just as good as the Friendship is Magic series. So for my scorecard, I'm gonna give My Little Pony Equestria Girls 5 stars, with the score out of 10 being 10 out of 10, with the percentage being 100%, with a grade of A+, with my final verdict being a great start to the spin-off series. But that was my review on MLP Equestria Girls. I want to hear from you guys. What are your guys' overall thoughts on this first movie? Go ahead and leave your thoughts down in the comment section, and while you're at it, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video. And have a great day.